All right, so the Miami Dolphins released defensive end Bradley Chubb and wide receiver Tyreek Hill. And defensive ends and wide receivers are going to be players that we talk about a lot in free agency, in the trade market, and because they were recently let go and now technically available, they can sign whenever. They don't have to wait until the new league year starts. But let's start with Bradley Chubb because I check that, rewind, keep that in. Don't fix that in post. We'll start with Tyreek Hill, which is what I meant to say. But I feel a lot about Tyreek Hill the way I feel about Bradley Chubb. That's where I was trying to get. And I'll explain in a second. I don't know where you land with Tyreek. I'm out. I'm not, I haven't locked the door because if he's available on a $4 million deal and he's the third or fourth wide receiver you add this year, great. But that's a 32-year-old whose production was already starting to dip. He dislocated his knee, tore his ACL, and had additional torn knee ligaments. I don't trust that. This is a team that needs stability at wide receiver. They need health at wide receiver. And Tyreek Hill at this point is just, he's not that.
Also not the best off the field personal issue situation with him either. Yeah, I'm with you. Like look, it's the NFL, so the price could be, there's like everybody has a price, right? Mm-hmm. So if the 49ers were interested, I'd imagine it would be for a very cheap, affordable, like, yeah, maybe you can be our second or third receiver type of role. Like that to me would I guess make a little bit of sense, but no, to like make him a priority, to cash him out, to give him a multi-year deal, to not make other additions at receiver more substantial than Tyreek Hill, I think would be the wrong way to go about it. Like, I think if you do bring him in, it's like, all right, here's $8 million and here's a chance to be our third receiver. Here's a chance to be like, you know, turbocharged Ray McLeod or something, right? Like that's kind of how I view it. But he is a big name. But yeah, I mean, and also we like medically, we have no idea what it's going to take for him to be ready, right? Like a torn ACL and whatever other ligaments, a dislocated knee, very likely he's not going to be ready for training camp at this point in his career. So you're taking a big risk in incorporating a guy who is not going to have the necessary practice time. And I know there's got to be a lot of carryover from the offense he played in under Mike McDaniel and what Kyle Shanahan runs, obviously. So it could help smooth the transition a little bit. But I just think training camp is super valuable just from the standpoint of like chemistry, like tons of practice rests with Brock Purdy. You're building a callus for your body. You're like getting ready for the rigors of a regular season. Whereas like Tyreek Hill's probably not going to be practicing till September, October, at which point he's not getting full team reps really. He's certainly not like doing the same level of conditioning as he would in a training camp. So yeah, I would stay away. It's one of those things where it's a big splashy name, but he's probably very near the end of his career. I would guess, and I would let another team take that chance on Tyreek Hill because I think the 49ers could do far better in trades, other free agents, the draft. Like that to me would make a lot more sense.
If they had prime Deebo Samuel, prime Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, who's a question mark because of injury, and you had Jawan Jennings leaving, then yeah, sure, go get Tyreek Hill and see if it works out. But the 49ers need such a massive overhaul at wide receiver that I just don't even want to mess with the Tyreek Hill part of it. Because if you're bringing him in, I think realistically, if you're bringing him in, it's to be one of your top 2 or 3 guys. And I just, like you said, he may not even play this year. So the 49ers have so many other boxes they need to check at wide receiver before deciding if they should gamble on Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And it's not even a good day to check boxes. So Rarely say that.
Yeah, I don't want to lump these guys together for obvious like problematic reasons, but like I think you can make a comparison to this being sort of similar to late stage like Antonio Brown. And like Antonio Brown over his final couple teams, it was just not it was not a good situation for the Raiders. It wasn't I don't even remember the other teams he played for, but it just didn't work. And my fear with Tyreek Hill would be that his career could devolve into something like that. Coming back from injury, going from being an MVP candidate to somebody just like battling for a job, like that can be a really unique and difficult situation. And that's just not, I would rather take an ascending player like a chance on a 22 or 23-year-old draft pick,
100%.
honestly, than bring in somebody like Tyreek.
I'd rather go see if Garrett Wilson's available in a trade, sign Christian Kirk, use a day 2 pick on a receiver, and you have Ricky Pearsall. Like that. I would so much prefer that at this point.
Yeah.
And that's not like, again, I just, the off-field stuff, you're right. But just if this was 2024 and Tyreek Hill's coming off an 1,800-yard season, okay, let's talk. But I just don't, I think a mistake teams make in trying to overhaul a room is just going and getting a big name like that. And you might see a team like the Ravens do it. You might see a team like the Rams do it where, they could use it, but it's not like the 49ers need an impact wide receiver. And I just don't think Tyreek Hill is that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, trying to hold on to like getting a big name who's very clearly past their prime and probably not going to ever live up to their previous production is just kind of what like loser franchises do, to be honest. It's kind of what the Raiders did forever, right? They think like you bring in a big name with cachet, like this could really help you. It's like, not really. It's not, like you said, it's not 2023, 2024. Like this is 2026, and Tyreek Hill is at a very different stage of his career. So,
yep. And that's just, it's where it sits right now. What about Bradley Chubb?
If he's probably better than this, but if they treated Bradley Chubb like the type of acquisition that Yetur Gross-Matos was a couple years ago, that to me would make a lot of sense. And they're different players. Like I think Bradley Chubb is more of an outside guy, but if you bring him in on an $8 to $12 million deal for a year, and he's part of your rotation at defensive ends, he's your third D end. Like I wouldn't hate that at all. He might be a really good third D end for you, who, if you deal with injury somewhere, he could start some games for you and you wouldn't feel this like dramatic drop off. But again, if you're signing Bradley Chubb to be your second defensive end and you're giving him serious money to play opposite Nick Bosa and bookend your defensive line, and that's the expectation you have going into the season, that's a less ideal scenario in my opinion. So I'm still just generally, when it comes to like free agents or trades, barring a player like in his prime, like Justin Jefferson or Garrett Wilson, or even like Dexter Lawrence to a certain extent, because I seem to be the only one talking about trading for a defensive tackle for the Niners. Like if you're going for, like, I would much rather go the route of a young player or through the draft than I would a guy on a third or fourth contract. Just trying to hang on.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm in on the Bradley Chubb idea, but I think I'm just saying what you were saying in a different way. One of the hallmarks of the 49ers pass rush when it's been really good, particularly in 2019, was just how relentless it was. And it was new bodies and it was fresh legs. And in the fourth quarter, Nick Bosa was as fresh as possible. D Ford was as fresh as possible. DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, like all of those guys hadn't had to play every single snap. And that's where a guy like Bradley Chubb, to me, makes sense. If Michael Williams and Nick Bosa are your two starters, and then Bryce Huff and Bradley Chubb are your rotational pass rush specialists. Like that makes a ton of sense to me. And that way you're avoiding having to put Robert Beal on the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a ton of Sam Okuwanu, you know, and no disrespect to those guys, but like there's a reason the 49ers pass rush wasn't great this year. So I'm very much in on the Bradley Chubb idea, but as part of an offseason where you're trying to rebuild and reestablish some depth at that pass rush spot.
Yeah, and
that's what he is at this point.
It's kind of similar to like the Leonard Floyd thing, right? Like Leonard Floyd, when they brought him in, like if Leonard Floyd at that point was a couple years ago your third defensive end, I think you feel fine about that.
Yes.
Or if he comes in on third and long and rushes the passer and you kick, Michael Williams inside, like that's fine. But to be like I would rather use a first round pick on an edge guy at the back end of the first round than bring in Bradley Chubb and say, okay, this guy's going to start next to Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Yeah, absolutely. Big on depth, but not as answers.
Can we revisit the Mac Jones conversation? Because I read Matt Barrow's article at The Athletic today about Mac Jones and how. Say it again.
Can he rush the passer? Many are wondering.
Haven't seen it. Wouldn't count on it, but wouldn't rule it out either. I just thought it was funny. So there was a quote in Barrow's article from Kyle Shanahan, and I think it was the end of season press conference when he was asked about trading Mac Jones. And he said, you always listen to people with trade offers, but we're also not into getting rid of good players. So I'd be very surprised if Mac wasn't around us next year. Which reminded me, like, didn't John Lynch say something similar about Deebo Samuel in the 2025
they've traded?
Right. In 2025, at the end of season press conference, I think it was the end of season press conference, John Lynch said, when asked about Deebo Samuel, Deebo's under contract. He's a good player and has done a ton for this organization. And we're not in the business of letting good players get out of here.
Huh.
Lo and behold, Deebo was traded. So basically what Kyle Shanahan said is a carbon copy of what John Lynch said a year earlier about not letting good players get out of here regarding Deebo Samuel, who they ended up trading. I just found that funny. And I think I feel stronger that the 49ers are more likely to trade Mac Jones than I think has been sort of reported. And we talked about when it was reported a few weeks ago that like the only reason this is getting reported that they don't want to trade Mac Jones is because they actually do want to trade Mac Jones, and they're letting the world know that like we're not just going to give him away. If you want to trade for him, you're going to have to give us a second round pick. Maybe they'll take a third round pick, but to me, I'm expecting Mac Jones to get dealt.
Yeah, it's sort of just sick move. Let's go. Sorry.
Did they score?
Women's hockey just won gold.
Let's go.
It was an unbelievable goal. I'm sorry. That was holy shit. That was amazing. I hope I'm so sorry if that's a spoiler for somebody who's like, I'm getting Candle Cron in, and then when I'm watching the tape delay of the women's hockey game. Holy shit. What a goal.
What a life that would be.
That was great hockey.
What a life that would be for that person that's like, all right, let's get this latest Candle Cron episode. I haven't heard any bitching about the NFL schedule in a couple weeks. We're going to listen to Candle Cron, and then I got the gold medal women's hockey game for the Olympics queued up.
I haven't been on my phone all day. I've known nothing about the game. Luckily, these guys aren't going to talk women's hockey. No, wow, that was amazing. Good hockey, really good hockey. Okay, so Mac Jones, I do think the 49ers don't want to trade him, but I think it's going to come down to like whether they do or don't. I think it's just going to come down to like, okay, there's going to be a ton of suitors in theory, but the Raiders are a no. The Dolphins are probably a no. That's a team it's rebuilding more than I think looking for a stopgap 28-year-old. Same thing with Arizona. You start going down all these teams, and it's like, man, okay, Atlanta,
Minnesota,
but Atlanta might cut Kirk Cousins. Does Kirk Cousins just go back to Minnesota? And so as I go through this, it's like, yeah, in theory, there are a lot of teams that could use a quarterback. I don't know if there's going to be enough teams where somebody's going to line up and be in the business of, hey, here's a third and a fifth for Mac Jones. Here's a second for Mac Jones. And I think if all that's on the table is a day 3 pick, I don't think the Niners are doing it.
No,
Jones
for sure.
has too much value.
For sure. And it's honestly, like, I think they do trade him, but I think if they don't, they would be perfectly fine with it.
Yes, 100%. They don't. That's it. They're not itching to get rid of him.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, if they could get a second round pick for Mac Jones, they do it in a heartbeat and don't think twice about it.
Yes.
And I think they would think about it or heavily consider it for a third and a fifth or whatever, third round pick. And then I think they're totally fine if the best offer they get is a fourth, just having Mac Jones be their backup quarterback this year.
Yep.
I think that to me would make a lot of sense. But I just found it funny that we're not in the business of letting good players get out of here. The vernacular that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan used almost exactly 365 days apart is just humorous for me.
I want to look for something here real quick.
This is the best podcasting.
I'm searching. I'm going to look this up before our next pod.
Okay.
Because I think they've said we're not in the business of letting good players go about every single player that has gotten dealt. But I have to go look that up in a more
they definitely said some version of that when they're desperately trying to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Going into Trey Lance's second season.
Yes.
When like the entire world knew that they would have traded Jimmy, but he just wasn't healthy. But they were still saying, we're not just gonna give away good players. It's like, yeah, you might. If giveaway means like get a second or third round draft pick back.
Yeah, you're not trying to get rid of good players, but man, if somebody wants to throw a good offer at you.
I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny.
It's there. Go ahead. You might be making the same point I am. Go ahead.
Well, I just think it's funny that that's very clearly how they operate, and that's what the history shows. And this is not to like besmirch national reporters, but like every year and it's not just the Niners, they report this on other teams. Every year, every offseason, it's like Team X doesn't want to trade player Y because they want to hold on to him, and then like, oh, go figure, it's March. It's the second week in March, and that team just traded that player for a valuable draft pick. Like that's just how this works. And it's just, and I even think these reporters know that.
Sure.
They're just doing their job because somebody says something to them.
If Kyle Shanahan texts me personally, first I would be like, how'd you get my number? Second, I would, you'd go report that. Kyle Shanahan says, hey, just FYI, we don't want to trade Mac Jones. Because that's newsworthy that the head coach said that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, like, it's not Adam Schefter's job to go, nah, I'm not reporting that. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, it's notable that they said it. Whether it means anything, TBD. But also, they give away the game on this when they use the line of, when Kyle Shanahan uses the line of John would trade me, if the right offer came out, we'll listen on everybody. But like, yeah, right. You'll listen on everybody and trade them if the right offer comes. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trading Mac Jones. The Raiders call and say, hey, we hate Fernando Mendoza. We love Mac Jones. Here's the first pick. You're saying no?
Right.
No chance.
Part of me thinks like it's easier to text Adam Schefter or Diana Rossini one thing than to text every GM in the NFL and say, hey, Mac's available for the right price. because I think anybody worth their salt in a position of decision-making power in the NFL sees that report that the Niners, quote unquote, don't want to trade Mac Jones, and then just assumes like, oh, Mac's available for the right price. You know what I mean? So I wonder if it's just like, I could text every GM individually, or I could just send one to Diana or Adam.
Yeah. I'm not doing all that. Go to the GM group chat.
I wonder if there's like a Slack channel. Just get all the owners and GMs in one spot. Just be like, hey, at Howie Roseman.
Are you
sure you want to notify Howie Roseman? It's 10 p.m. in Philadelphia.
That tweet that was like, imagine you're in the NBA GM group chat and say, who wants a bonus? And it's just 7 laugh reacts.
Oh, man.
Who wants Mac Jones? Bunch of laugh reacts.
Kings Magic tonight. Excited for that one. No? Not looking forward to Kings Magic?
Kings Magic, Lord of the Rings, Hobbits, etc., etc.
Oh, nice. Matt George is going to be a pig and slop over there.
Oh my God, dude, he's going to be so. I mean, when is he not though?
That's true. That's true. All right, got anything else?
No, I have nothing.
Okay.
Shout out to the Team USA women's hockey team.
Yeah, shout out to them. Shoot Kyle a message on Twitter if you want us to bitch about NFL scheduling more in the next episode. We can find new and unique ways to do that later on.
Oh, we didn't do the thing. We didn't do the thing about Australia.
Oh,
the fact losing a home game.
We can save that. It is such a severe disadvantage though, but we can talk about that later on.
Tough.
Bummer.
Anyways, I've got nothing else.
All right.
Talk
to you guys later.
7 a.m. on ESPN 1320 in Sacramento.
Yeah, and check out Lamb Chops, sglambchops.com. Go drink all the beer at Cooperage Brewing at both of their locations in Santa Rosa. And while you're at it, download the Prize Picks app, use code Candlestick, get $50 in lineups. You play your first $5 lineup. It's good to be right. See you guys later.
Shout out Al Roker.